Now on UK Health Radio, treat yourself to an upgrade. Pack away your low self-esteem. Leave behind that empty feeling. Stow your fears and doubts in the overhead locker. And go from stress to authentic success with Danielle Sachs.
Hello to you, and I am talking to you from Belgium. I can say to you that there is a beautiful blue sky today and crispy cold, and it is such a relief to see the sun again, because we've had such bad rainy weather that you can only go cozy in the couch watching like a Christmas movie or a New Year's thing or something romantic, or listen to some music, or listen to a podcast or a radio show with a good cup of how do you say that? Hot chocolate, or a glass of wine, or glue wine, or anything like that. So I'm here today talking to you with a beautiful view of this blue sky, and I am absolutely in the mood to give you another beautiful, inspiring show today, because you're going to do it with me today, because I just want to give you a few extra motivations, inspirations around authenticity, around vulnerability. But let me first start this show with explaining to you a mail that I sent to my tribe. I see you out there, wherever you are in the world, as part of my tribe, of course, as part of my family. My clients, they are almost like family to me. We have such a great connection, and I trust that you can feel that I'm a person a highly sensitive person who really wants to give in the world, who really has the need to connect with people. And today I'm just gonna discuss with you a few things on what I told my tribe, because I want to be a little bit more personal here. Because the last 12 to 15 months, there were a lot of challenges in my life. Also a lot of breakthroughs, of course, because after the breakdowns come the breakthroughs, and a lot of revelations. That severe COVID experience that I have had at the end of 21, like many of you, I am sure, can recognize this, it really took quite a bit of time to fully recover. And a part of that low immune system gave me also a very severe hip replacement inflammation with metal in the blood that really indicated the only solution was a revision surgery. So I needed another surgery. And so I decided in June 22, I got a new surgery for my hip, which again took a rehabilitation and recovery that asked from me a lot of time and a lot of patience. And so you know by now that I'm the expert in self-care, and I just want to share this, being vulnerable to you, that my life also has challenges. As much as I try to inspire and motivate you to go from stress to authentic success, I can tell you that in my life, there's also a lot of things that I need to work through. For example, at the end of last year, I think it was end of September, beginning of October, my mom had to move to a small room in an assisted living facility, saying that to see your mother starting that last phase of her life, requiring really attention because she's dependent on her daughters, on our attention. So it is really, really, for me, a vulnerable place to talk about that. And I want to be this year more vulnerable, even more authentic than I am already, because I can share also the breakthroughs and the revelations. For example, a big growth spurt in my business, because I have a really busy client agenda, day in and day out, to get the results that I aim for in connection with those people who choose me to guide them and to empower them intensively. It is my choice to really do everything that I can in my power to help those people shifting from stress to authentic success. And we had some amazing, mind-boggling results this year. When I see how people have written me at the end of 22, their appreciation, their gratitude for the journey that we went on together, I can feel the goosebumps even now through my whole body, because it is so rewarding and fulfilling to have the job, the work that I love and that I'm passionate about, and then to see the results that it's having. So also the end of 22, December, I had a beautiful but absolutely magical winter wedding of our youngest daughter, which really takes up a lot of time too, but we enjoyed it as a family gathering, and we will never ever forget that weekend. So as much as there were breakdowns in a way of your body really having surgery, being ill, etc., seeing your mom in such a situation, there has been a lot of breakthroughs, a lot of really beautiful moments in my life. And so I can continue this list going on and on, but I just wanted to let you know that my lesson in all what I've lived through in 22 was actually in reflecting and letting go. Reflecting and letting go of what has been. Because it is so important to reflect on what has been and to let go of what is not serving you anymore, so that we can look also at what did work in our life, what did serve us, what was a win situation. So we can look forward and consciously choose. I always say, look forward and consciously choose who you are today, who I am today, and what I can do today so I can manifest my dreams and goals, no matter how big and small. And the same counts for you. So it is absolutely crucial that you reflect and let go and look at all the things that did work in your life. We don't appreciate enough the little wins. And so I want you to look forward and consciously choose, I say it again, consciously choose who you are today and what you can do today so that you, particularly you, can manifest your dreams and goals. No matter what you are dreaming, no matter what you are setting as a goal, it can be big, it can be small. I want you to start living consciously. And so the only thing I have to add for this new year, this new era, this new time that is given to us, the new energy, life that is given to us from this moment onwards, I can only say to you that I trust that the next 365 days may grant you day by day a vibrant health out of self-care, self-love, and self-leadership, so that you may experience the most beautiful freedom, full joy, and fulfillment in your life. Because isn't that what we all desire? That feeling of feeling free, fully alive, and fulfilled. And I am going to talk to you today about vulnerability, because that is what I'm doing. I am giving myself the vulnerable side of myself to you today. And I want to talk about the strengths, the risks, the benefits of being vulnerable. So I'll talk to you just now.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
welcome back. I am so fired up today to share with you this show on vulnerability, because my husband and I were talking about it, and we discussed that there is actually a paradox around vulnerability, because it can be as much scary as it can be rewarding. Being honest and open can be really something. And so there's a quote that says, vulnerability is not weakness. It's the absolute core of what it means to be a leader. To be vulnerable is to be human. It is the key to authenticity, transparency, and trust. I think it's a quote from Ted Coyne and Mark Scherenbrook. So just to give you an introduction on how I feel about vulnerability, how I want to spread this message to you and tell you that vulnerability is not weakness. It is absolutely at the core of authentic success. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is about the risks of vulnerability, the benefits of vulnerability. And so, as I said, it can be a tricky thing, being vulnerable, because on the one hand, it can be seen as a weakness, which is not, if you ask me, because it can make you feel exposed and vulnerable to being hurt or rejected. So we don't want that as human beings, to be hurt or rejected. So it's easy to see why people like you and me might be hesitant to be vulnerable, and especially in this world where values of toughness and self-sufficiency are so highly recommended. And on the other hand, we all know that vulnerability can be seen as a strength. And that's how I see it personally and how I treat it with my clients. Because being vulnerable means being open and honest, even when it gets difficult or uncomfortable for you. It means being willing to take risks and to be honest with others and actually be your true self. So despite the challenges, I truly believe that vulnerability is an important quality to embrace. And that's why I wanted to talk about it today, because I think in the beginning of this year, it is so essential to reflect, to make conscious choices, as I said before. And so vulnerability allows you to form a deep, meaningful connection with yourself and with others. And so to be your authentic self. And if this show goes about something, it is about being authentic. Let's be honest. And it's really worth it. So in this show, I will go just a bit deeper into the risks and benefits of vulnerability and why the benefits actually really outweigh the risks. So I trust that you are with me in this. And let me start with the risks. There are about 6-7 risks of being vulnerable. And you and I, we all know the queen of vulnerability. Of course, Brené Brown. And Brené has an amazing quote that I really like that says, vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Oh, I like this quote, because if you are going to have the courage to show up and exactly be seen as you are, you don't know how other people are going to react. That's true. And one of our biggest fears, and then that's one of the first risks of being vulnerable, is rejection. One of the biggest risks of being vulnerable is that possibility that you and I will be rejected or accepted by others. And it can be really tough to open up and be honest, because if we are still paying attention about how people will react to who we are, will react to us, then it makes us worried because we have that fear of rejection. For example, asking someone out on a date, when you put yourself out there and you say to somebody else that you are interested to have a date, you're taking a risk, because you make yourself vulnerable and expose yourself that the other person will say, no, thank you. I'm not going on a date with you. Same for applying for a job. You might be confronted with the risk of rejection when you go and apply for a job, or for a role in a play, or for anything by that matter. So you are putting yourself out there and exposing yourself to the possibility that you might not be accepted and that you might not be chosen for the date, for the position. So that's risk number one, rejection, which is for all of us one of the biggest fears in our lives. Number two, the second risk is hurt. When you are vulnerable, you open yourself to the possibility of being hurt or emotionally wounded or physically wounded by that. It's not easy to expose yourself to the risk, but it is inherently a part of vulnerability. Let's say, for example, you are sharing your feelings with your loved one. When you share your feelings and emotion with someone you care about, you are making yourself vulnerable. Yesterday, I had a client, a beautiful lady who has a new boyfriend since about a year and a half, and they are really getting on well, but she is scared to show her feelings about him not really going into deeper conversation, not really having the time and the listening ear that she would love. And she is so scared of saying that to him because she's scared to be hurt, that if she would make herself vulnerable and talk openly about those feelings, he might reject her, he might hurt her. And so it's not easy. So sometimes people do not react as we hoped or expected. So just to say that is risk number two, the fear of the risk of being hurt. Number three is shame. Vulnerability can sometimes bring up feelings of shame or self-doubt. Brené Brown talks about that often, the feeling of shame. It's so natural to feel vulnerable when you put yourself out there and expose yourself to others. For example, let's just say you are sharing a personal secret with someone. Sharing a secret with someone else makes you feel vulnerable. You expose yourself to the possibility that that other person will judge you or reject you. So that can give you the feelings of shame and self-doubt. And I often see that here in my practice. When people open up and when the truth comes out and they can feel that they can be their vulnerable self with their flaws and their talents, with their, it's with their secrets, it's only logical that they often feel a kind of shame. And it is my role and always my intention to let them know that there's no shame or self-doubt necessary. That is how we are as human beings. So you are exposing yourself to the possibility of being seen as incapable, as weak, as really being judged as well. And it can bring all these feelings up. Now, risk number 4 is the risk of vulnerability can bring those feelings of guilt. Guilt, because especially if we are sharing something personal or private that we're not used to sharing. It's the same with what I said when you share a secret. There's a certain feeling of guilt when, for example, you share a mistake. When you share with someone else a mistake or something that you were not proud of, you are making yourself vulnerable. You are exposing yourself once again to being judged or rejected, which brings feelings of guilt. And so asking for forgiveness, when we admit to someone that we have done something wrong and we seek actually reconciliation because that's the purpose, I can tell you that it is absolutely clear that you again are exposing yourself to the possibility of being rejected and not forgiven. Of course. So let me recapitulate the few that we already made. So you have the 7 risks are: first, the rejection; secondly, the hurt; thirdly, the shame; fourthly, the guilt; and of course, let me come to the basic feeling of fear. That is number 5. Being vulnerable can really be scary. And for a lot of people in my practice, I can feel that in the beginning, they are a little bit scared about being open and telling their problems and telling their challenges, because we are not used to do that in this society. We are often very careful to talk about our mistakes, our secrets, our problems. So it is really natural to feel a basic fear when you are taking the risk of exposing yourself to the unknown. Let me give you an example. Trying something new that is out of your comfort zone. You have certainly experienced already something that you have wanted to do, but it was out of your comfort zone. So when you try something new out of your comfort zone, you expose yourself once again to the unknown and you are taking a risk. And it's so natural to feel fear in these situations. We even say in personal development, we actually talk about doing the dead right. The moment you take the risk, the moment you go through that barrier of fear, that's where growth lies. So it's the same with being vulnerable. The moment you get out of your comfort zone and you are starting to be your true self, to be vulnerable, to be exactly as you are, it can feel like, doing a dead right, like it's the first time that you are actually really being yourself and doing something out of your comfort zone. It's the same when we meet new people. You put yourself out there and you expose yourself once again to the possibility of being judged or rejected. So fear really is something that you and I, we both experience almost in our daily lives. The sixth risk is actually quite an important one as well, because insecurity is also a feeling that can come up when we are vulnerable. It's really, when you expose yourself to others, you feel insecure. Sharing, for example, a personal story or something that is really significant to you and someone else, you again are going to feel insecure because that's just how it is. So it is a risk, but at the same time, it is imperative to actually be vulnerable, to actually share your true self, to actually be yourself. And so the last risk that I want to mention here is the one of uncertainty. Finally, the vulnerability can be always accompanied by a sense of uncertainty, because we don't know how others will react when we are being open and honest. And that can be really unsettling. For example, if you are starting a new project, when you start a new project or a new venture, you put yourself out there and you expose yourself to the possibility, once again, of others making you judged or rejected, and it gives you that feeling of uncertainty, out of the comfort zone. So as I said, there are many risks of being vulnerable. And let me tell you that once you have seen these risks, it is equally important that at this moment we are going to talk about the benefits of being vulnerable, so that you can weigh the one with the other and see for yourself what is most important to you, what is most beneficial for you. And overcoming fear and insecurity through vulnerability is really something important in our lives. So another quote from Brené Brown, before mentioning the benefits, is vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. Again, vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. So it all starts with being honest and open and vulnerable. That's where the growth spurt is located. That's where it starts. And so, as we discussed, vulnerability can really be scary. There's going to be rejection, hurt, shame, guilt, fear, insecurity, and uncertainty. But despite all of that, being vulnerable really gives us many benefits that can actually really make it worth it. And I'm going to show you just now. We're going to talk about those benefits. It's actually important to realize that vulnerability can actually lead you to stronger, more meaningful relationships, to personal growth and self-discovery. I really agree there. It is such a beautiful thing, and I see it with my clients every day. It can make you overcome fear and insecurity. It can make you build trust and intimacy in relationships, improved communication, and also it will probably install a greater empathy and understanding, and more authentic and genuine connections, increased self-awareness and self-acceptance, and most of all, a greater resilience and adaptability. So let's just discuss bit by bit the benefits of vulnerability. Number one is building a deeper and more meaningful relationship. So how come that with being open and honest, when we are willing to be open and honest with others, we can create more profound relationships? Because you're going to talk on a deeper level, not the superficial talk about the weather, about your car, about whatever, the kids' football, soccer. No. With being open and honest, you are going to create more profound, deeper, meaningful relationships. And it's actually true, because when you share your feelings and emotions with one of your loved ones, I'm sure that you can feel that you can connect on that deeper level, and that you can strengthen your bond. Because building trust and foster a more positive work environment when you are open, for example, to your coworkers, can be such an advantage, such a benefit. So that's benefit number one, the deeper, more meaningful relationships. Number two is the personal growth and self-discovery. Now, I myself can really testify in that being vulnerable allows you and I to be more open to personal growth and self-discovery, because we learn so much more about ourselves, about our capabilities. We learn to grow as individuals because we are more open to receiving feedback, to receiving criticism. We are not scared of exposing ourselves and being rejected. So there's a lot of potential personal growth and self-discovery. Now, benefit number 3 is overcoming that fear and insecurity that we talked about in the risks, because being vulnerable can actually help us overcome that fear, overcome that insecurity. For example, when you are willing to speak up, let's say in a reunion or a Congress meeting or a team meeting, wherever it is, when you are willing to speak up and share your ideas, even when you're worried about how other people will receive it, you can overcome your fear of rejection, and you are going to start growing and be more confident in yourself. So it really makes you feel more confident in who you are. You push yourself out of your comfort zone, and you are going to build more resilience against stress, against fear, against insecurity. So being vulnerable really has that big, big benefit. Number 4 is the building trust and intimacy. As I said before, vulnerability is an essential part of building trust in any relationship, intimacy in any relationship. You can build trust and strengthen your bond when you are open and honest with your romantic partner. I think this is one of the most essential keys in a respectful marriage or partnership. It is that you are open and honest about your feelings and needs, because you cannot expect that the other person knows you so well that they know everything about your feelings and needs. It is so important to build that trust, to build that intimacy, that you open up yourself, that you are true to yourself. No faking, no superficial things. Go deeper and build that trust and strengthen that connection. Number 5 benefit is the emotional intelligence. Being vulnerable requires you to be in tune with your emotions and those of other people around you. So that helps you develop your emotional intelligence. So being vulnerable builds on your emotional intelligence. For example, if you are open to receive feedback and criticism, something that I do every time that I've done an interview, I ask in my show after, we had the interview, I always ask people personally if there's any feedback that they can give me on the questions that I asked, on how I did the interview. And I really think it's important. It's important, as I say, that to grow, to get more of an emotional intelligence of understanding our feelings and regulate our feelings. So that was number 5. And then we have, of course, I think we have some more. Let me just have a look here. I think the last one that I didn't mention yet is the greater resilience and adaptability. So you can build strength and adaptability by being vulnerable, getting out of your comfort zone, and taking risks. As we discussed, it's about the resilience and the adaptability to really grow more, being more of you, being the better version of you. Because when you open to trying new things and stepping out of that comfort zone, you can develop the ability to handle challenges and changes much more effectively. Absolutely. I am sure that being open and honest with who you are, with your feelings, your needs, etc., makes you more resilient. And so to conclude, I can maybe use another quote, which is the willingness to show vulnerability is the hallmark of a courageous leader. Now, a leader, you and I, we all are leaders in our life. We have our self-leadership. We are a leader with our loved ones. We are a leader in our community. We can be a leader in so many things. And so a courageous leader needs to be vulnerable, needs to be open and honest about who he is. And so I just want to end this little chapter here before we get you going into break, that it is important to remember that being vulnerable is not easy. Believe me, I'm not saying to you that being vulnerable is easy. I'm saying to you that being vulnerable is not a weakness. It takes courage, and takes a willingness to take risks. And so many people these days in society are staying in their comfort zone, are not willing to take the risks we need to take to go and live that authentic success. That is the most beautiful journey that you can go on. So just to let you know that the rewards of vulnerability, as I said, stronger, more meaningful relationships, personal growth and self-discovery, overcoming fear and insecurity, building trust and intimacy, improved communication, greater empathy and understanding, more authentic and genuine connections, increased self-awareness and self-acceptance, and greater resilience and adaptability. Don't you think it can be worth it? Being open and honest with yourself and others will build a more profound, a more meaningful connection with yourself and others, and it will improve your overall well-being. I am so an advocate for being vulnerable, and I often talk about this with my clients because for them, it's often in society something that really is not easy. As I say, it is not easy, but it is so worth it. I'll talk to you just now.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Yes, today we are talking in this show specifically about vulnerability. Now, why am I talking about vulnerability? It is because it is the key to authenticity. And when this show called From Stress to Authentic Success, why this word authenticity is in there is because it is my experience after working more than 3 decades with people that being authentic is a keystone to have a fulfilling, full life. And so I talk about authenticity a lot, but vulnerability is actually a big part of that. So there's a quote that says, vulnerability is the willingness to show up and be seen, to be our true self, even when it's hard, even when we're scared. And so have you ever felt like you were hiding behind the mask, behind the facade, pretending to be someone you're not? It can be so exhausting trying to keep up with the persona that's really not you. I see it in my practice every single week. And that is where vulnerability comes in. It is imperative that we are starting to be open, honest, and genuine. It's about being willing to show your true self to the world. You are unique in this world. You have something to give to this world. And so when we're vulnerable, we are able to be more authentic. That's the relationship. You don't try to hide behind a mask or present a false image to the world of who you are. That in the end is so stressful. That's what gives us, I'm not saying burnouts, but depressions, everything. So it has a lot of consequences if you ignore being vulnerable and being authentic. So why is authenticity so important? Simply put, because authenticity really allows you to be your true self, to be true to yourself. And so to live your life in your way, in a way that is genuine and meaningful to you. So when you are authentic, you can be honest and exactly be who you are. It is so much easier. It is so much more fulfilling, as I said. It gives you the feeling of freedom, of being fully alive. So you can be honest about who you are, about what your beliefs are, your feelings, your needs, and what actually that you want out of your life, which can be something totally different as what people around you expect from you. So in this society, it is so often, and I see it in my clientele every week, it is so often almost living on autopilot to do what others want you to do what is expected of you. And so we need to stop with that. Being authentic can help you build those stronger, more meaningful relationships with yourself and with the other person. And that is the only way to find a sense of purpose and fulfillment. And that's why I call it authentic success. Whatever you think about that success means to you, whether it is being the best parent you can be, whether it is having an amazing relationship with your partner, whether it is working for a company and helping other people in your community, whatever your thinking, your thought of success is, being authentic is one of the basic principles. Because when you're authentic, success follows naturally. That's what I always say. So how can that vulnerability then help you with being more authentic? Well, being vulnerable allows you to be open and honest about who you are, as I said, about your thoughts, your feelings, about your experiences. But that also means that sharing your flaws and your weaknesses, as well as your strengths and your successes. So it means to be open to any feedback, to any criticism, to be willing to listen and learn from others, to be vulnerable. You can be really your genuine self and connect with yourself and others on a much deeper level. And as we said, we know by now that vulnerability can help us to be more authentic, to build stronger, more genuine relationships, to build deeper, more meaningful connections, to learn, grow as a person, as a professional, to be open and honest about your values and beliefs. And it goes on and on. So, to summarize, vulnerability is the key to authenticity because it allows you and I to be honest. It allows us to be honest, open and genuine about who we are. And so we are able to build stronger, more meaningful relationships and find a sense of purpose and fulfillment. So purpose, fulfillment, being true to ourselves, these are all things that are possible. And so for this new year, I am wishing you really, as I said, out of self-care, self-love, and self-leadership, out of vulnerability and authenticity, I want for you that this year grants you every single day that amazing health, that feeling of freedom, fully aliveness, and fulfillment. So, I am going to leave you with this, and I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye for now.
From Stress to Authentic Success was presented by Danielle Sachs. Join Danielle at the same time next week here on UK Health Radio. And meanwhile, for more on how to thrive in business and everyday life by being true to yourself, go to daniellesachs.com.